everyone, and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin. Hello, Pearse.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing well. On today's podcast, we'll just basically be discussing the Euro 2024. It's all action in the Euros at the moment before the group stage. So we'll discuss a lot about that. We'll discuss about Scotland, discuss about England and other teams as well and results. And then also, after we discuss that, Pearse will give all the latest Asian football news. So let's kick off. So we'll start from the Sunday, 23rd of June. So just the last Sunday there. So we finally got the results of how the Group A group stage finished. So there was two matches, which was Scotland versus Hungary. That finished 1-0 Hungary. And because of how that match finished, that meant that Scotland were officially knocked out of the tournament. And then in the other match, it was Switzerland won, Germany won. And these two teams have qualified for the last 16 of the Euros. So there is only one place to start. Scotland 0, Hungary 1. Obviously, we're from Scotland, so it's still very raw in our minds as to what's happened. But we'll discuss the match first. We'll start from the match. So how do you think the match went, Pearse?
Not great at all. Thought again we were too pragmatic and didn't really kick into gear until Steve Clarke actually brought in some attacking substitutes in terms of like Stuart Armstrong, Kenny McLean, just to name a few. But Ryan Christie, they three for me, they just kind of brought a bit of energy and a bit of legs because I thought the team was a bit too defensive and there wasn't enough energy in the team and a lot of the players just didn't perform to the level we know they can because they showed it in qualifying for the Euros superb. But ever since it's kicked off, I thought it's maybe a mental block, but it's not been good enough. And again, I don't really recall many shots on target. I think probably the highlight that was the standout chance, probably Grant Hanley's opportunity, which brought him inside the box. And of all people to fault Grant Hanley, he did a decent shot, but it was an easy hit for Peter Galassi. And then obviously Scotland are kind of piling in the pressure, set pieces, corners, balls into the box, looking dangerous. A scramash in the box breaks away. Hungary counter attack and they score in the last kick of the game, which is just absolute heartbreak for Scotland. But there had been warning signs in the game while Scotland were just kind of leaving one man for man at the back, which is not a great sign when you've got a team like Hungary who are a dangerous side. They qualifying themselves, they were unbeaten. And in each match they've been fairly competitive and you knew it was a straight shout. So Scotland needed to at least get a draw, but potentially win the match. But to leave yourself with that open at the back is criminal and eventually punished in the most excruciating of circumstances. But can't really complain as a Scotland fan because I don't think we did enough to win the match. And I think that's that. I think that's where a lot of Scotland fans feel aggrieved because I feel as if there was a lot of attacking talent on the bench that just didn't get brought on. Like for example, like Lawrence Shankland and James Forrest, I don't think we've seen a minute of action. So in that aspect, we didn't really push the boat too much. We were too pragmatic, and I feel as if we deserve what we got.
Yeah. A really hard way and painful way to get knocked out of the tournament. In terms of like Hungary's tactics, it was quite clear from the kickoff that their plan was to sit off Scotland, let us have the ball, and then they would kind of counter-attack us. And the problem with that is I don't think Scotland are used to that kind of. They're not used to having the ball. They like, in terms of controlling the game, and you can see from the set from the game, the kickoff that Scotland were really struggling to create any chances because Scotland dominated the ball for the first 20 minutes of the match, but they weren't really doing anything with it. It was just kind of side to side, back the ways football, and it was a difficult watch because Scotland weren't really creating anything, and then Hungary grew into the game. And then you saw in the last, I'd say, the last half an hour, Hungary started to go for it because they had to win the match as well. And they created quite a few chances towards the end, and then they got that goal in the last kick of the game. But in terms of the performance of Scotland against Hungary, I thought it was really poor for a match that you had to win. I was really disappointed in the fact that there wasn't really any bravery from the players. I felt it was very safe. The performance, like they were too nervous to go for it because they were worried that if they lost the ball, for example, then Hungary would go out and score. So I felt it was a very nervous, frightened performance, and that's really sad to say because this Scotland team had a chance to create history. They had 90 minutes to try and create history to be the first Scottish team to get through a group stage in a major tournament. And I feel for these players, I'm afraid, I think that's going to be a situation where they're going to live to regret that because I really did think it was an opportunity missed. The match wasn't great in terms of quality. I thought it was a really poor match. Both teams. To be fair, I don't think both teams. I mean, Hungary won the game, but I don't think they deserved to win the game. I thought it was a draw. It was a really poor performance. It was really poor from both teams. Scotland, as you said at the end, they went for it. Steve Clarke decided to just bring all the attacking players on that he could, like Lewis Morgan, Ryan Christie, Kenny McLean, these kind of players, Lawrence Shankland. But it was just too late, and there wasn't really anything created. And yeah, that's us now again out of a major tournament at the group stage. It's really disappointing because me and you were so excited. We kind of believed that this would be the year, this would be the tournament where we'd get out the group stage, but it hasn't kind of went out. It hasn't turned out that way, obviously. So that's Scotland now officially out the tournament. So Pearse, I just want to ask as well, in these three games, how do you think the Scotland team has performed?
Woeful. Don't think we really offered a go for it.
Can I just say sorry? Just what you said there about a go for it. I think this is important to add the fact that Scotland only had two shots on targets out of the three games that we played.
That's the reason I'm saying woeful, because from attacking aspect, we were woeful because the fact is, like you say, two shots on target in three games, 18 shots in total over three matches. That just isn't good enough as a team. That just for me validates my point. The fact is we're too pragmatic, we're too defensive, and we didn't even have a goal. Look, I don't mind getting beat 4-5-1 right, against Germany, right, if you actually go and have a go. But the fact is we did that, not even trying, not even offering anything going forward. And in the second game of Switzerland, we actually had a go. You've seen some effort. And then Hungary again, it's only like short spells we actually went for it when you really needed to go for it and throw the kitchen sink at it, so to speak. But for me, over the three matches, for me, I thought Germany, I didn't think we'd get a result. Luckily, if we would, because you never know, because opening game. But then Switzerland and Hungary, that was a chance to really go and beat a side. Because we've beaten Spain in qualifying. Let's not kill ourselves. We're in good form in the qualifying campaign. Maybe the friendlies leading up to it weren't that great. But I think there was a key misses in terms of, I think, for me, the right side of defence was really weak because obviously I think Ralston and McCrory is a massive drop-off between Hickey and Patterson. And then obviously the main man, which I think we just didn't fill the void, and that was Lyndon Dykes. Lyndon Dykes is a catalyst to our attack because you forget he may not be a massive goal scoring ability for Scotland, but see just his link up play, his hold up play, it just brings players into play. Players like McGinn, players like McTominay, players like Christie. It pushes the team further up the party, wins spells. And then obviously Kieran Tierney losing an injury in the game in Switzerland as well doesn't help. But and also lose Ferguson. But we had enough quality, we had enough players in there that we should have done a lot more than what we did. And that is a talented group of individuals. And I think Steve Clarke again is proven at this level that maybe he isn't the right man for the job. Because I feel as if it's all right qualifying, but you need to at least have a go. I think these tactics, old school tactics, are being so pragmatic, so defensive. We'll work at Kilmarnock, we'll work in the qualifying against lower ranked opposition, but when it comes to these major tournaments, you need to have a go. You need to try it because I feel as if it just didn't work for us. And again, it's just another woeful campaign in the Euros, because I felt this was a chance for us to go and really make them up for ourselves and make history, and we just didn't do that.
Yeah, agree. I was just thinking there what word I could use for these three games, and the only word I can think of is I just felt the players were frightened. The first game against Germany, I felt they got stage fright. First, because we were the first team. It was the first game of the tournament. We were playing the host nations. Okay, I understand how difficult it is because Germany, we all know Germany are a good team, and we're playing in front of their fans. You know, we're going to be massively over. You know, we're going to be massively outgunned by all their fans. But the performance they put in that first game was just so disappointing because they didn't show. They didn't show why they deserve to be there because we had a great tournament. We had a great kind of qualifying group stage. But that first game, we didn't show at all why we've qualified for the tournament. And I just felt that first game we got stage fright, and we were hammered, so to speak. We just didn't even have a chance in the game at all. So the first game was really disappointing. The second game, again, we lacked the quality, but I felt we we deserved something out of the game because of the amount of effort we put into the match. And because of that effort, we gave ourselves a chance to still qualify. And then in the last game, again, I go back to that word stage fright. I just felt because we knew we had to get something from the game. Again, I felt the players didn't perform to the levels that we know they can perform. So that's really sad because you know, in my opinion, I think you'd agree. Like we all know they're kind of better than that. And I think it's a massive opportunity missed. I totally agree with your point about the injuries, right? That is one thing I will say. You know, Lyndon Dykes is a massive miss because he has that presence for us up front that we did miss in this tournament. So that was a big miss. The right wing back situation with Hickey and Patterson, you know, that was a massive loss because I don't want to be too harsh on Ralston, but we drew the game because he made the mistake. And with Hickey for example, would have Aaron Hickey made that mistake? We don't know, but highly likely he wouldn't have. And Ralston did, so that was really disappointing.
It was a
Um,
schoolboy error, Tom. You
it
never
was,
the
yeah,
ball back to the goalkeeper with foot looking over your shoulder, and
yeah,
you can't take credit away for Shaqiri because he's got that in his locker. You don't expect him to
yeah.
score from that angle, but it's a rule you're taught from boys' club all the way up that you
It
never
was a
have.
really, yeah. It was a lack of concentration, and at this level, you can't make them mistakes because you get punished by players like Shaqiri. Um, so yeah, overall, I just felt the players got stage fright. I just don't think they performed to the levels that um we know they can, and I just think the pressure got to them in the end, and that's really disappointing because I really thought this would be the tournament that would create that history, but it wasn't to be. Just lastly on Scotland then, Pearse. So the big question now is where do we go from here? Like what do you where are you now with Steve Clarke, and what do you want to see next with this team?
I think for me, I think it's an end of a cycle for a lot of these players. Because as you know, through this last two qualifying campaigns, it's seen the majority of the same players, and I think it needs a refresh. Once we get some of the older guard out, like, they just aren't good enough for the Scotland squad. I think, for example, Shea Adams just is not a striker of Scotland quality that can take the team forward. Lyndon Dykes has got that quality, but I think like somebody like Lawrence Shankland needs to then extend it on the team. We need to start playing with wingers. We can't just have a five at the back and just hope that our midfielders will score goals. You need to start being more expansive and creative and show different formations, different strategies to try and break teams down. Because, like you say, most of our joy against big teams in the qualifying campaigns were sitting back, set pieces, quick transitions. But, like you say, when teams sit off us, we look lost. We don't know how to create. It's more about just keeping the ball side to side without really penetrating or making runs or getting balls into the box or just getting any shots in target or shots in goal. And for me, that has to change. Whether that happens to Steve Clarke, it remains to be seen. Because I know a lot of Scotland fans are now probably done with Steve Clarke because they think they've seen enough of his turgid performances. And like you say, the run of results leading up to the Euros and now, it's not great. And maybe a change of manager might be happening this summer. We never know. And I think also one that's out of job at the moment, and he's quite similar style, but is probably David Moyes. But he's had recent success with West Ham, and I think he would welcome a job for the Scotland national team. I think he'd do a better job. He's a higher calibre of manager, and I think he's more expansive. Because you look at the way he plays at West Ham, although they're a bit defensive, but he plays with wingers. And you've seen the difference he can make to players like Jared Bowen and stuff like that they brought from the Championship. So I think that could be a way, but I think for me, Scotland need to start playing with wingers and start playing more attacking, because I think that is a downfall. We're playing too defensive because you're not even trying, and we've got really good ball playing players in there. Like somebody like Billy Gilmore, Callum McGregor, that's your basis of your team. They're good ball playing midfielders, and then you've got McTominay who can make the late runs. You've got McGinn who just will run all day and have an engine. So we've got players in there that we can create and we can score goals. I just think our style is holding us back a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I was worried before going into this tournament. You touched on it there about the form that we're in. So we've only won one game in 11. Obviously that's so going into this tournament. I was worried about the team because I mean I didn't want to go into it too much, but basically I was worried about the performances going into the tournament. So now the tournament's done, and now we know what's happened. In terms of Steve Clarke, he's been here for 5 years. I think he's done a brilliant job. I really do. He's qualified us for 2 tournaments. We were a game away from the World Cup in Qatar. But I can't get it out of my head now that I just think there's something's gone wrong. It's all of a sudden the last year or so it's gone a bit flat. Ever since we qualified for this tournament that we've just been knocked out of, it's all gone a bit flat, and the performances have been really hard to watch. The goals have dried up. For example, John McGinn, he hasn't scored for Scotland in a while, and I just think for us, I just think for Scotland, I just think it's now time for us to go up to the next level. I think we need to start seeing a Scotland team playing more progressive football, that are comfortable on the ball, that can control games better, and that look much more of a threat. And I just think with Steve Clarke, I just don't think he's the type of manager that will make us do that. He's always going to be the manager. His style of management is to kind of play that sort of safe kind of style of football where he doesn't want his players to kind of go for it, play that possession-based style of football that we want to see. So for me, I would like to see a more progressive manager coming in, and kind of change our style of play. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the SFA will stick with Steve Clarke. I think they'll give him the next qualifying stage for the World Cup, which is coming up, to see how we get on. We've got the Nations League coming up as well, and to see how we're going up. But in my opinion, I would like to see a more progressive style of football where we're much more positive, we're more braver, and I'm just not sure with Steve Clarke in charge that we're ever going to see that. So yeah, that's what I think. And in terms of the team, as you said, there is going to be players there that we don't know if that may be the last time we see them in a Scotland shirt. There definitely has to be changes, in my opinion, because I think the team has got, as I said, the team has gone stale. A lot of these players have done really well in the Scotland shirt, but I think a lot of them have they've kind of done their job for Scotland, and I think it's time for us to take that next leap. I think it definitely feels to me like it's there's going to be a massive change with Scotland. I think this kind of cycle of this team is finished. And I think now definitely after this tournament we're going to have to start seeing a kind of new Scotland team come in. So that's going to be interesting. And yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of decisions to be made in the next few months because yeah, we are where we are. So but yeah, overall, really disappointing for Scotland as they're now officially knocked out the tournament. So we'll move on to the day after that, which was Monday, 24th of June, and we got the final games of the Group B group stage. So the matches were there was two matches obviously. So the first match, Croatia won, Italy won, and Albania 0, Spain won. So Spain finished winners of that group. They won 3 matches out of 3. Italy finished second, Croatia finished third, and Albania finished fourth. So yeah, Pearse, what's your thoughts?
Um, Again, I think Spain have probably been the standout performers of the Euro 2024 so far. And again, we touched on it last week in the podcast. I think Albania gave Spain a good game, rode them close, only a 1-0 defeat, which is pretty admirable for a nation of that size. But I think Spain, they already knew they were through, made some changes to the side, which rotated a wee bit. But again, they look very, very strong on all departments, defensive and attacking. And they just look as if, for me, they're probably one of the favourites at the moment that I would say that have got a good chance of going and lifting the Euros. And then Italy qualified in the most dramatic of circumstances. It looked like Croatia were going through, and then in the 100th minute, Zaccagni bends one in, which is very Del Piero-esque of the 2006 World Cup. Just a heartbreak for someone like Luka Modric, who won't be seen in the potential won't be seen in the next round, because obviously he's been a standout for Croatia, leading them to a final and 2 semi-finals for his country in terms of the World Cup and Euros. So it looks like, for me, that's an end of a generation for Croatia, which we were kind of touching on at the start of the tournament. Maybe that would see, probably might not see that midfield of Brozovic, Kovacic and Modric, but it's still going strong. But it wasn't meant to be. And Italy scraped through with the narrowest of margins. But no, I think that in terms of that group stage, I think the two standout teams have went through, and I think Croatia have just missed out on that third place finish with just the 2 points, which they have been disappointing. But sad to see someone like Luka Modric not being the last stages of the Euros.
Yeah, obviously that was the match of the day in that group. You know, we all thought Croatia were going to again get through. Luka Modric missed a penalty, and then a minute later he scored the goal. We all thought that was going to be it. Croatia were going to get the 3 points, and then all of a sudden, the last kick of the game, Sakanye scores a number. It was a brilliant finish. Kind of curled it into the top corner. It was a great finish, and we also saw Luka Modric on the side. He was on the bench. He was nervously hoping for that whistle to go, and then the camera panned to him again seconds later, and he was distraught as Italy had just scored. So yeah, that basically meant Croatia are now out. Basically, they're all but out. And it's a heartbreaking way for Croatia to go out because, as you just said, this does kind of feel like this could be the last time we see Luka Modric in a major tournament. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't rule it out. I definitely would be surprised if he is in the next major tournament, but it does feel like it. And you know, yeah, it's sad to see because Croatia, I mean, you know, they've been great the last few years. World Cup final, World Cup semi-final. You know, they've performed really well, and obviously Luka Modric has been the star of that country. So yeah, that was a really sad way for Croatia to go out. And Italy, I think they've got a lot of luck there because I don't think they've been great at all. I've watched them quite a lot in this tournament, and I haven't really seen any good performances so far. So I think they'll be pretty relieved because I don't think they've been fully deserved to qualify, but they have. And then obviously Albania. they've put in a really good, they've done themselves really well, because that was an impossible group for them, basically. Three amazing teams, and yeah, I think they've performed really well. And then Spain, who had 3 wins out of 3, really good. And they are definitely one of the favourites to win this tournament so far, because I think they've been really impressive. And yeah, so obviously the game of that night was the Croatia won, Italy won, and quite a hard way for Croatia to go out. So we'll now move on to Group D and Group C. So Group D was played earlier on in the match. This was yesterday. So Group D was played on earlier in the day. So the results were Netherlands 2, Austria 3, and France 1, Poland 1. So the shock is that Austria have topped that group. They've won the group. After they defeated Netherlands last night 3-2. France came second. Holland came third, and Poland were last. So yeah, that was a really entertaining group, Pearse. I've got a feeling I think I know what match you're going to start with. So yeah, what do you think?
I think it'll be the France and Poland. I think France, for me,
I wasn't the game I thought you were going to start with, but anyway.
But go with a different wee spin here. But I think for me, the quality they have on show, and the strength and depth they have to only score one outfield goal in the whole group, and another one was an own goal, and finish second in a group with Austria, Poland, and Netherlands. That is pretty a damning statistic, and for a team of the calibre that they have, and you just expect a lot more. And obviously, World Cup winners not too long ago, so no, you expect a lot better for them. Poland, unlikely to get a draw, because I've been pretty disappointed with them so far in the tournament. They picked up 0 points in the first 2 matches, and that was also without Robert Lewandowski for the first match. They came on as a sub in the second, but Poland weren't great. France get the draw, but they scraped through into the next round in second place. But there'll still be a dark horse for opposition, because we know once Kylian Mbappe's back to his best, that anything can happen with France, because it's just different animal having the team. And then Austria beating Netherlands, which Ralph Rangnick in charge, topped the group. And this was a manager. This was an interim manager of Manchester United not too long ago. That a lot of people are basically ridiculing him, because he basically wasn't really a manager. He was more a director of football. But as you can see, with players that are willing to do the right things in terms of running, just giving everything, playing in the right positions, and just having that attitude and never say die. And as you say, he's transformed this Austria side, and I don't think anyone would have had Austria top the group. Never mind even going through. But for me, no, it just shows you what a really good coach can do to your side, and it just shows you again what's wrong at Manchester United at club football. But in terms of the Euros, phenomenal job, and I think they're the surprise package for me of the Euros so far. That the fact is the top of the group with the calibre of position in the group in terms of Netherlands and France. Yeah, for me, they two were brilliant matches, and I thought, yeah, Austria the surprise package so far.
Yep, I totally agree with what you were saying about Austria. Totally deserve to go through, in my opinion. I think they've been brilliant in the group stage. They were unlucky not to get anything out of the France game. They played Poland, totally deserved to get the 3 points. And again, against Holland last night, they totally deserved to get the 3 points. So obviously talking about the Holland game, Holland-Austria game, yeah, totally deserved from Austria. I thought Holland were really poor on the night. Defensively, I thought they were. It was pretty worrying, the goals that they conceded. But in terms of Austria, definitely the dark horses of the tournament for me. Didn't expect them to finish first in that group at all. And Ralph Rangnick has shown what a good coach he is. The style of football that he's playing with Austria. I mean, we all know about Ralph Rangnick anyway, about the the style of football he likes to play, this high pressing style of football. And he's shown this with this Austria team. They've been a really good watch so far, scoring lots of goals. And definitely are the surprise package. And fair play to Ralf Rangnick, because he was actually linked heavily with the Bayern Munich job. He was offered the Bayern Munich job just before this tournament started, and he turned it down to stay at Austria. So he's definitely more than happy to stay with Austria, and you can see, because the job he's doing is brilliant. They've topped the group, and I definitely wouldn't rule Austria out to get to even the latter stages of the tournament. So yeah, and then you've obviously got France, who finished second. They've been really disappointing in this group stage. They haven't scored outplay goal yet. They've only scored a penalty and an own goal. So they definitely haven't hit the heights yet. But with France, you definitely. The one thing with France that I always think of is when it gets to the really last stages of the tournament, that is when they turn it on. And they've got the players to do that, the likes of Mbappe and Griezmann and stuff. So I wouldn't be necessarily thinking that France are going to be, going away anytime soon. I definitely think they'll be thereabouts at the last stage of the tournament, definitely. Yep, so that was a really entertaining group. Obviously, Holland will be disappointed to finish third, but they are also through as well, and obviously Poland are out. But that was a really entertaining group, and quite surprising, and quite good to see the fact that Austria have topped that group. So congratulations to them. And then the other group that was played last night was Group C. So that finished Denmark 0, Serbia 0, and England 0, Slovenia 0. So there was no goals in that group last night. That was the lowest group goals in the group stage. I think we have to start with the England-Slovenia game, Pearse. So what was your thoughts about that?
Yes, in terms of the England match, I think it's another one that's kind of similar to Scotland, but obviously with a higher caliber of opposition and players. I feel as if England again have been held back by a little bit of a pragmatic coach in Gareth Southgate. Because I feel as if a lot of their attacking threat is null and void with their tactics, and again they're trying to shoehorn players into positions like Kieran Trippier at left back is always want to cut inside, so they're not having expansive play on the left hand side. It's no overlapping runs. And then obviously you've got Phil Foden on the left. As his natural position, he's always wanting to come inside. So they're virtually chaperoning their attack just to the right hand side. So it's pretty easy to defend against. And then someone like Harry Kane is feeding off his scraps. I think someone like Bukayo Saka is not living up to the form we know he can live up to, because he is a really good player. So I think a lot of players that have not been playing, I think we've seen, especially last night anyway, it was Kobe Mainoo and Cole Palmer came on, and you just see the difference. And surprised that was both of their first actions of the whole tournament altogether. And only had like a 25-minute cameo, and I think you see the difference, especially Cole Palmer, because he was a standout player for Chelsea and a really poor Chelsea side that finished just above the bottom 10. So they just finished the top 10, just missed out in Europe, and he was a real catalyst for that, because his goals, assists, and just his overall play was outstanding, considering he was a player that was on the fringes of Manchester City. But he was the one that said to Pep, "I'm not waiting, I'll go." And he's proven that he is a good player at this level. And you see the glimpses of him. He reminds me a little bit of Kai Havertz, but for me, he's got more to his game. In terms of he's more of an attacking threat. I think he's got more goals, he's got more end product than a Kai Havertz, but very similar mould in terms of he's quite tall, not the quickest, but with the ball his feet, he's very technically gifted. And I think England need to kind of probably play more in youth, because I think a lot of the players that are in the side, again, they're trying to shoot on players into position. I think they need to play players in their natural positions, or at least play on that left side, left winger, and an actual left back, or someone that's left footed. So they've got that overlapping, because the fact is they're being too predictable. And I think, again, they're not really creating too much. So I think England themselves need to be more attacking minded, but probably the positive, the probably spin on it, the England, the FA and stuff like that is probably the fact that Southgate's topped the group. But again, only 1-1, and yeah, again, not really a great performance. In England again, and a really poor group have struggled, but they've topped their group because all the other sides have struggled as well. And for me, there was a damning statistic as well. This was the lowest goal scoring group in the history of the Euros. Only 7 goals between 4 sides in 3 matches. Oh, sorry, 12 matches. Uh, nine matches, sorry. Because obviously 3 teams play 3 matches. So I got a maths right there in the end. But 7 goals across 4 teams after 3 match days is not a great look on the group. And the fact is, England were only side to win a game. I just showed you how poor the group was. And this thought that England are potential favourites to go on and win it. They've not got recent history. The last time they won was 1966 World Cup. So they've not really got the calibre to expect that they're going and win the tournament. And we've shown like last night, that they'll be lucky if they even get past the next round because they're not playing good football. A lot of their star players are not performing. And if you've got players like Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, Harry Kane not scoring goals, then you're going to struggle.
Yeah, I agree. There's quite a few issues there for England at the moment that Gareth Southgate has got to sort out. The word that comes to mind so far, England this tournament, is boring. They haven't the games that I've watched England so far. I've watched all the games so far. I haven't really been excited watching them. It's been flat. They haven't really created a lot of chances. Um, and we all know every time we think about this England team, we think about the attack that they've got with what you've just mentioned. Foden, Bellingham, Saka, Kane, Cole Palmer, Anthony Gordon, Ollie Watkins. It is an absolute gift of an attack. It's probably the best attack in the Euros. And for them to be labelled as probably the most boring team in the Euros is really, really worrying because they shouldn't be. But it comes from I think the reason for that comes from the midfield and the defence they've got issues defensively. Although I do think Mark Guehi's done well, they've got Guehi and Stones who aren't the most. I wouldn't say it's the best centre back pairing in the Euros. It's a pretty weak centre back pairing. They've got issues at left back with Luke Shaw injured, so they're having to play Kieran Trippier at left back at the moment, who's a right-footed left back, and uh, they're kind of losing that. They're kind of losing the balance on that side because he's always cutting in on his right foot. And they've had issues, most notably in the midfield. The first 2 games of the Euros, they played with Declan Rice and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I think it's been quickly realised that isn't going to work, that midfield pairing. I think in the Denmark game especially, I think they got found out in that midfield. So I think that's kind of gone, that's kind of been scrubbed out. They started last night against Slovenia with Declan Rice and Conor Gallagher. And once again, I don't think that worked, especially in the first half. I thought England were really poor in the first half. But then it was then when they brought on Kobe Mainu, I actually thought England looked better in the midfield. So maybe that's something to look at going forward. But the reason I don't think the attack for England is not it's not going well at the moment is because I think the connection from the defence to the attack isn't there's problems there because I don't think the midfield is right so far, and I don't think defensively it's been right so far. So definitely a lot of issues for Gareth Southgate to figure out. They have topped the group. I think they've actually got quite a favourable side to the draw. I think they're going to be avoiding teams like France, Portugal, Spain. So they're quite lucky in that sense. But so far, England don't look like one of the favourites to win this tournament. There's quite a lot of issues there. And they're really going to have to get that sorted if they want to do anything special in this tournament. Because so far, for me, they definitely don't look like they're going to win this tournament. So yeah, quite a lot of issues there for England. And I have to say that was the most boring group in the tournament. You just mentioned there the lack of goals. I haven't every game I've watched in that group, I haven't enjoyed, to be honest. So yeah, so that group's now finished. We've got the remaining groups. So on you go, Pearse.
Thank God.
Thank God, I know. I should have just finished it with that. Thank God. Um, obviously, Group E and Group F will finish today. So that'll be later on today after we finish this podcast. So still games to be figured out. But at the weekend, we're going to be moving on to the last 16 of the tournament. For me, that's when I get more excited. I love the group stage, but I just like when it comes to knockout because I think that's when the really teams start to really. Because I always feel with the group stage, don't you, Pierce? But I always feel with the group stage, teams sort of tactically try and get their way through it. They don't really perform at the group stage. So like England and France, they have performed. It's only when they get to these last stages of tournament that's when you really start to see these countries really perform. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And just lastly, Pierce, uh, is there a player? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is there a player? We haven't talked about that yet. Has there been a player this tournament so far that's really caught your eye?
No, not really. I don't think there's been any standout performers in the tournament. Potentially, which one I've been, I see quite a lot. I watched a lot of Spanish. It was probably Nico Williams. I
Mm-hmm.
think this has probably been the time he's nailed down a position in that starting squad in the Spain. Obviously, he was always in the shadow of his older brother Inaki Williams, who plays for Ghana and is a captain for Ghana. And he's a tremendous player, but he's a different type of player. He's an out-and-out winger, Nico Williams. And every time I see him get the ball, especially in the Italy game, like he's Di Lorenzo, who is no slouch, and he's a really good professional and really good player. And he just left him for dust every time. And the fact is, every time he get the ball, he just looked to take on a man. He did. See, sometimes you get winners, right? They face up defender, right? And then they'll just turn back, they'll play a sideways pass without even attempting to take on a man. He's always, when he gets the ball, he's turning towards goal and he's driving. Either it'll be a pass or 1-2, or he goes outside, he cuts inside, and he's got the pace to go either way. And he's been a threat and he's created chances and he's been unlucky a few times. He's always hit the woodwork as well with a lovely calling shot in that league game as well. For me, he's probably been the one standout player of for me, a tournament that has been pretty poor. Because I like to say, I'm going to second your opinion as well. The fact is that after the first game, that's teams start wanting to play in the first game, but see after the first game, because of a third place format, teams realise if they don't lose, they've got a chance of getting through. So if the teams are just setting up for they're happy with a draw. And so I think, like you say, knockouts go really exciting because, like you say, it's knockout competition. If you don't win, you're not going through because it will eventually go to penalties if you're then going for the draw. But teams will open a little bit more. It'll become a lot more goals will hopefully flow in the tournament as well, and you'll see a lot of the big hitters performing at the levels they know they can. And for me, no, exciting times. But I think Nico Williams, for me, he's probably been the standout player so far because I think Spain, as a team, probably the best. And for me, whenever I've watched them play, it's just been really exciting to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with Nico Williams. I think he's definitely worth a shout out because I think he's been really good so far in the tournament. I actually want to mention another player, the Italy centre back, Calafiori. He plays for Bologna. I think he's been really good. I don't know a lot about him, but he first caught my eye against Albania in the first game for Italy in the tournament. I thought he played really well, and since then I've been quite impressed. He did really well for the goal against Croatia the other night. He took the ball out from the defence, carried it all the way up to the attacking box, laid it off to Zaccagni, who finished it really well. I think he's been really good so far, and there's been lots of rumours about him. Apparently, he's going to be could be getting a big move in the after this tournament's finished. So I think he was definitely worth a shout out. Calafiori, he's quite a young centre back, left-footed, but I think he's performed really well. Alongside Nico Williams, Musiala as well has been really good. But I think we're going to be seeing many more players step up and perform. Now the knockout stages will begin. So yeah, really looking forward to it. So we'll now move on to all the Asian football news from Pearse.
Yes, so there's matches getting played in both the Japanese and the Korean League as the time of recording, so we can't really offer match results or live table because obviously it's currently going as time of recording. But next week we'll have a catch up with the table and the results. So in terms of other Asian football news, FC Seoul defender Hyun-Soo has had his contract terminated by the club after he was caught drink driving, and he didn't report it to the club, and the club found out through a third party report. So he's had his contract terminated because in Korea is no tolerance in terms of drink driving because a lot of players either drink driving or speeding, and they've instantly their contract terminated. So again, no shot there by the club. So former Japan international Kazuyoshi Miura, also known as Kazumura, has signed for Atletico Suzuka, who currently play in the Japan's fourth tier, and he's now at the ripe old age of 57 and still going strong, proving that age is just a number. Red Bull Salzburg have signed Takuma Kawamura from Sanfrecce Hiroshima. The 24-year-old joins on a contract until 2028, and he's been one of the standout players in a campaign that's seen Sanfrecce Hiroshima up towards the top half of the table, and yeah, and an exciting signing from the Japan internationalist who has now moved to Europe. So Ulsan HDFC have officially announced that So Young-woo has signed for Red Star Belgrade. This brings an end to a long pursuit for the best part of a year for the young fullback who now links up with his international teammate Hwang In-bom at Red Star Belgrade, also known as Sveda. In Serbia. AFC have confirmed details around the new AFC Champions League Elite to kick off later this year. So with 24 teams, a league stage format split into the East and West categories, with centralised final stages in Saudi Arabia, and the official draw will take place on the 16th of August. And the AFC have also confirmed that a significant increase in prize money for the ACL Elite. So it'll be a prize money of $800,000 US, that is. Base fee for all clubs in league stage, and additional money available depending on where you're eventually placed in the rankings. And obviously a minimum $12 million for the winners of the whole competition. And in terms of the three sides in the competition from South Korea, and they are Ulsan HDFC and the K-League 1 champions, Hwang Steelers who won the Korea Cup last year, and Gwangju FC who finished third in the K-League 1 last year. And in terms of Japanese league sides, we have Vissel Kobe, J-League 1 champions last year, and then Kawasaki Frontale, Japanese Cup winners, and Yokohama F Mariners who also finished second and went far in the competition last year. So that is all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse, and thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening and see you soon.
Bye-bye.